we're all excited for that for like an hour from now. See, maybe if I go fast, the time will go faster too. I don't know. I'm Jennifer Lowry. I'm the head coach over at Webb Robotics. This is, I think, year 11 for me, maybe year 12. I don't know, something like that. As a head coach, it's been great. I'm also a parent. So I've been an FLL parent and an FRC parent, which is kind of also a really important part of this experience. So I don't know how many parents we have here, how many mentors we have here. Maybe I should like check in quick. Mentors, parents, both. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. So I just want to talk a little bit about resources for mentors. I want to make sure that we, kind of think about how we can work together as a mentor community as well. Help each other out, support each other throughout what it becomes a very, very hectic and busy and exciting and fun season. So, just so you know, here's what I'm going to do. I know, how many are first year in the program? Nice, all right. Okay, we've got a mix of experience, which is awesome because when we take some time to discuss, you've got an incredible amount of experience in this room of mentors here, so a great group to chat with here when we get to the end. So I want to talk about first, why first is important. I want to talk about why mentoring is important. And then I want to give you, especially for those of you who are new, like a picture of the season at a glance, like what it looks like. I want to share some important mentor resources with you, both local and from the global organization. Ideas for how parents can be supportive of their teams, of the program, of their students. And then we'll just have a discussion at the end. We'll talk about things that you're interested in, things you're excited about, things you have questions about as we get into the season. So first of all, why FIRST robotics? I mean, there's plenty of things that our kids could be doing, plenty of them, and a lot of them do a lot of those things. But FIRST is, I think, a really special program. I want to make sure you guys understand what's so special about it. It is an amazing preparation for a future in STEM. I can't tell you how many alums I have come by that say that, what they did in high school put them so far ahead when they got to college. It put them so far ahead when they got to their working life, thinking about how they collaborate, how they communicate, how they solve big problems. And it's an amazing preparation for that. There's not a lot that's really like it. I love the fact that FIRST is international. Again, an experience that not many high school programs have, where you may be competing against or competing alongside, collaborating with, working with teams from all over the world. I did a count recently of how many states my team interacted with and how many countries my team interacted with last season. It was amazing. There's not much like the leadership opportunities that students have here, where you are, leading a group through a challenging project. The answer is unknown. It is stressful. There are time constraints, and it allows students to really grow in a way that they might not have an opportunity in a typical classroom setting. The challenges are real. The challenges are hands-on. The challenges push you to innovate and create. There's plenty of academic opportunities that come out of it. There's internships that are often tied specifically to FIRST programs. There's scholarships and awards tied specifically to FIRST programs. And that opens up new opportunities for your students. And again, I think one of the most unique aspects of FIRST is the connections to you all as mentors. Not a lot of programs really put students and experts in industry, in a lot of different fields, together so they can learn from each other and so they can learn with each other. That's a really unique aspect of this program. And of course, as we all say around FIRST, it's the hardest fun you'll ever have. I don't know a better way to sum up my FIRST experience so far. Again, mentoring really matters. FIRST is unique in the way that it deploys mentors to inspire students. And it has an impact. We know it has an impact because we've seen the data. That FIRST students, after their enrollment, they are rate higher than a comparison group on STEM knowledge, on interest in STEM careers, in working in STEM fields, in seeing themselves as someone who can be in a STEM field. It is really important for us to build a more diverse STEM workforce. Making sure that students understand that they belong here is critical. This is the way that we do it, is through what we do in FIRST. We have hands-on learning, we have teamwork, we have exposure to adults who are in real careers that they find exciting, that they might not even know exist. And again, I think the FIRST core values are really central to what we do. I think it's good to be living that out in our interactions with students every day. So, like, mentoring, I think, is a very, very meaningful role that you can play in a young person's life. Okay. Again, the mission of FIRST is to create programs to give young people skills, confidence, and resilience to build a better world. So that's what this is all about. So everything we do is kind of centered around that. You know, it's really easy for us to get caught up in like the day-to-day, the game, what happens in a specific match, you know, whether or not the prototype we're testing is working or not, why we keep throwing errors in the code. It's really easy to get like locked into some of those things on the day-to-day, but like overall, this is our mission. We're giving young people the skills, confidence, and resilience to build a better world. So sometimes I think it's important for us to kind of take that step back and like refocus and say, okay, how am I working towards that goal today in my interactions with my students? And what I found is that mentoring can look really, really different from team to team, even within the same team from season to season, or even sometimes with the students you're working with. Our goal is to inspire, and sometimes as a mentor, I know I have to be very hands-on. Sometimes I'm giving a lot of guidance. Sometimes I'm less hands-on, but I'm a lot more involved in those day-to-day interactions, in building leadership skills, in building communication skills. And it can depend on the team you have in front of you. It can vary a lot. And what works for one team might be something completely different than what works for another team. And I think that's kind of the beauty of FIRST, is that we are taking this single goal, right, to give young people skills, confidence, and resilience to build a better world. And there's a lot of different ways that we get to that point. Again, FIRST is unique in the way that it deploys mentors to do this, to work well alongside students, to encourage them, to help them build technical skills, to help them build communication skills, and to guide them towards success. For those of you who are in your first season, this is probably a bit like drinking from a fire hose today. I mean, there's so much that goes on. But I think I like to think about the first schedule sort of in kind of blocks of time. You know, obviously we've got Kickoff today. January and February, primarily, we're going to be like building robots. It's roughly 8 weeks nowadays that we have to talk about robot strategy and design, to go through and build everything, to code everything, to test it, to break it, and then try it again, and then break it, and then try it again. So that's about January, February. Once we get into March and April, that's when we have our competition season. So a lot of teams are still building and changing and practicing throughout that time, but then we will have competitions. You'll often hear them referred to as weeks, like a week 1 or a week 2 or a week 3 event. And not all teams compete the same weekend. So a lot of our teams locally will be competing week 3 for the Smoky Mountain Regional, which comes in mid-March. But there'll be places, you know, in other parts of the country and all over the world where they've already had competitions in week 1 or week 2. And then we'll have later competitions, all kind of culminating in the first World Championship, which happens at the end of April in Houston. So sometimes I like to think about kind of breaking up what that 8-week of build season looks like too, because so much happens between January and February before you go to your events. This is actually a graphic from FIRST, just kind of like a rough idea of what might happen. Like in the first week, you might be talking about strategy, you're kind of brainstorming what sort of things might happen. You know, in the week 2 and 3, maybe you're prototyping and you're starting CAD design or something like that, or sketching out robot ideas. And then in the next couple weeks, you might be building things and wiring things in your robot. Notice there's some overlap with these. And again, season to season, year to year, team to team, this can vary a lot in terms of that structure. programming might happen over a long period of time while building is happening at the same time. And then hopefully you get to the point where your robot is assembled enough and you can get some driving and testing done and get some drive practice with your drive team before an event. That's kind of our general outline of what the calendar looks like. I really love the fact that FIRST touches on so many different skill sets. It's technical, non-technical, so parents who might be around, if you're not sure, well, I don't know if robots is for me, there might be an area where you can contribute in a meaningful way to the students involved in your team. Maybe it's not in CAD or wiring or something like that, but maybe it's in helping them write award submissions or help them create presentations, because there are interview skills that come into this. Obviously, there are fabrication, building, CADing, design skills. There's communication and teamwork skills. There's how to handle pressure on the field. You know, the students are gonna spend time building, the robot and stuff, and then when we go to competition, they have to go on the field, and there's a bunch of people watching them from the stands, and there's a lot of people yelling. And it's tough to figure that out, and having that sort of guidance for students to figure out how to handle that pressure, even if you're not confident in wiring management or something like that, there may be other ways that you can contribute to a team in a meaningful way. I think there's some great resources out there for mentors, and I encourage you to check these out. The Compass Alliance is a fantastic website that a bunch of teams globally have put together resources there to share. A lot of them are team management, just basic guides for how to structure your team, how to structure your schedule. Chief Delphi is a discussion forum that's pretty active with both mentors and students. Over the next 48 hours, it's going to be super busy as people talk about their ideas about the game and that sort of stuff. I definitely encourage it. I think in terms of a discussion forum, it's a good spot for mentors. It is heavily populated and there's a lot of communication between mentors in that space. And then also, I would encourage you to check out the FIRST Youth Protection Policy. That can give you some guidance for how to work with students. I know some of the people in the room are educators. I am an educator, but not everyone is, and so not everyone is working with teenagers day in and day out. And so sometimes it helps to get some guidance for good advice for how to interact with teenagers in a positive way, suggestions for guidance and communication with them. One of the new things that FIRST has rolled out this year is an entire training program for mentors. It's very cool. Once you register with your team, if you log into the FIRST Inspires website and you go to your dashboard, you'll see a button now that says training. You click on that training, you can get some certifications that basically are an introduction to FIRST, and understanding things like privacy restrictions. So making sure that you are not sharing information. So the type of information that teachers might have training for that other adults who are not usually working with students might benefit from. Right now, this mentor-ready training is not required for mentors in FIRST, but next year it will be. But if you get that certification done and that experience out of the way, it's like a couple videos that kind of train you on some basics, like an introduction to what FIRST is, then it carries over for several years. But I definitely want to encourage you, because there's more than 100 training pathways in here, and they've got things that are about mechanical design, they've got things that are about electronics in FIRST, they've got things that, information about volunteer roles, so there's all kinds of stuff there. It's a really great resource, and they're adding stuff to it constantly. The other reference I want to throw out there is that we've started doing in Tennessee some monthly mentor meetings. These are just a remote call. I'm actually going to have a QR code to the presentation at the end of this. So if you want to scan that QR code, then you'll have all the slides and the links that are in it. But we've been doing those on Tuesdays starting at 6 p.m. First Tuesday of the month. We didn't do one this week because we're all here anyway. But at the end, if you guys have ideas for things that you want to talk about, things that you think would be worth discussing at these, love to hear it. So again, that link will be to that monthly meeting, which is the first Tuesday of every month, so we'll meet again in February for that. If you are a reader, you like books, got some great FIRST related books. These are some of my favorites. There's some FIRST related ones, and then there's some mentoring ones at the end. Spare Parts is a fantastic read. It is not strictly about FIRST robotics, but it is a lot of fun. And you'll see a lot of the same themes. The New Pool is about a FIRST robotics team. It's about a pretty famous FIRST robotics team from California. It is a fun read about their season. Great book. One Trusted Adult is a great mentoring book about good ways to be a person, who students can trust, who can be a good voice in their life. I love it. It's a great book. Definitely recommend it. And then another one I read more recently is called 10 to 25. It's a fantastic coaching book. 10 to 25 is that age range in which it is ideal for coaching. So that might be even useful for those of you who are in industry and you got some younger scientists that you're working with, or technicians, and fresh out of college or fresh out of high school. I'll give you some tips for how to work with them as well. Again, great books. I was able to recently start a book club at my school, and so the second two books were on the book list, and 10 to 25 is one of my favorites. Some great ideas for communication as well. So here's the advice that I wish that someone had told me my first year as a mentor. Okay, so I hope some of this resonates with you, or that if you haven't heard this before, maybe I hope you hear it today. You don't need to solve problems for students. They will run into problems. They'll run into big problems. And you can solve problems for them. But it's a lot more rewarding for them if they get to solve it themselves, or if they're part of the process and you can just nudge them along in the right way. And I can tell you that, I am very often right alongside students as we're working through tough problems. That's, often the way things work in my team. Sometimes they solve the problems on their own. I'll tell you, software, I don't solve any of their problems. Sometimes I make problems for them, I think. But it's a lot more rewarding for them, and it's also a lot more rewarding for you as they learn how to solve those problems on their own. You don't need to shield them from failure. In fact, I think that they should experience failure. I think that's good. Model an appropriate work-life balance. That is hard. I'm still needing people to tell me that. My assistant coach tells me that once a week, a couple times a week. I don't know. But there's a lot you offer beyond your technical knowledge. You offer ways to operate as a healthy adult, and that might involve being away from the lab because you have other priorities, and that's okay. And I think students should see that. I think your team should see that. That there are healthy ways to manage your time as an adult. It doesn't need to completely resolve around robotics, as much as fun as it is. Man, it is fun. But it's good to share that there is a balance. And the other thing I think is really important is that, remember, again, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff, but you're only their mentor for a short time. I mean, this is not very long, a couple years. But you really want your students to leave their team knowing what it means to have a good mentor in their life. Because they're going to go beyond here. They're going to go into the workforce. They're going to go to college, whatever. And they should be ready to seek out mentors that will be in their corner. Mentors that are there for them. They're there for the right reasons and will help them and guide them and be proponents for them going forward. And if you model that for them in high school while they're on your team, they'll know what to look for when they're out in the rest of the world. So, worth thinking about. All right. So if you're parents, there's plenty of ways that you can get involved with your team. Consider mentoring, obviously. It's not for everyone, though. I know that. It's just not. But even if you're not mentoring actively with students, you can help with logistics. There might be travel involved. I don't know how many of your teams are traveling to events, but figuring out, where the team's going to eat for dinner, or what are some good hotels in the area is great. or just like assisting with you know, collecting paperwork and that sort of stuff. These are logistical things that are really important for teams to function. Be communicative with coaches. Share information. Let them know if your student's not going to be around. Do your best to make that clear. Volunteer at events. We always need more volunteers at events, and it's super fun. I often don't get to volunteer at Smoky Mountain Regional, our home regional, but I also do volunteer though at First Lego League and First Tech Challenge events. Those are an area as well, so if you want to get like a little taste of it, of volunteering, you can try with some of those local events. And then obviously, like, if you have ways to connect your team with sponsors, with donors, you know, share that information. Provide snacks and meals, transportation. Yeah. Most importantly, parents, go to the events because they are super fun. Okay, it is a great time. Watch the matches, see all the teams there. It's a great time. So at this point, I'd love to have a conversation. I'd really like this to be an open conversation. So if you have comments, if anybody else has like advice for first-year mentors or advice for other mentors or things that you want to discuss or questions, I'd love to hear it. The QR code leads to the slides, so if you want that, so you can hit the links, you can do that. All right, any comments, questions?
How many coaches are there?
What was that?
How many coaches are there?
So, according to FIRST, each team has 2 coaches. So, in order to register a team, you have to have 2 coaches. But the distinction and definition between coach and mentor, I think, is a little fluid right now. So there's no limit on the number of mentors that teams can have involved with them. And there's a lot of variation in what mentors do. So, like, I think of myself as both a coach and a mentor and a parent on my team. FIRST has a specific definition of coach because it's those people who register the team and are required for all the logistics and such related to it. But the number of mentors can vary a lot, and you know, teams can be very effective with a small mentor group, or they can be very effective with a large mentor group. It kind of depends on how they manage it.
And how many mentors go on a trip with you guys?
I bet that varies from team to team. I'd love to hear that, but I know for my team, we always would like as many mentors to go on trips as we possibly can. We do our best to make that convenient and easy for them. But how many have been to an event before in their own? Hey, all right, we're doing pretty well. Yeah. So they're super fun. Yeah, and honestly, there's a lot for mentors to do. Sometimes being just a mentor and being able to just hang out and watch the matches and cheer for the team is like an important thing that you can do as a mentor at an event or as a parent. So there's always stuff to do with events. Other questions?
And do you know the cities we're going to?
Well, so I know for the Webb team, we have a competition in Sevierville and we have a competition in Huntsville. Is anybody going to a different regional? Where are you all going to be?
We're going to Bayou.
Ooh, Bayou! Oh, that sounds fun. Nice. I haven't been to that one. We've been to Magnolia Regional before, and that was fun. It's a great group of teams in like Mississippi, Louisiana area, so that's awesome.